with the living legend. Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to put your hands right really up in the air and welcome our ad guru, Prahlad Kakar, the advertising film director, Genesis Film Production. What an honor, what a moment. Thank you very, very much, sir, for gracing the stage with your ever important and momentous presence. Thank you very, very much. Namaste. And with that, Terence, it's over to you.
Well, thanks so much for that lovely introduction.
Well, it's a bit long-winded. Frankly, the real introduction should be in that I make the best souffle omelettes in Bombay. And to make a souffle omelette requires a certain degree of art and courage and commitment. Firstly, you have to whip the omelette so that it really stands up high. Then you have to put the butter in the pan, and then you have to put the egg in the pan so that it doesn't die on you. You have to turn the omelette when it's still runny. So to be able to turn an omelette when it's still runny so that the center is raw requires timing, courage, commitment, and a small prayer. But the most important thing is, with anybody who's creative and who's a chef, is that you never control the flame. You control the pan, which means that you don't start fiddling around the flame to see whether it goes up and down. To cook the egg evenly, you have to lift the pan off the flame and keep putting it back on as you know, so that you can keep shaking it so it doesn't stick to the pan. And then when it's firm, you turn it with a prayer and hope. And if it's correct, then it's a perfect omelette. And when you cut it, it runs out of the center. And when we serve it at Prithvi Cafe 30 years ago, everybody used to look at it and say, "Eek, it's raw." And we say, "Precisely." So why can't we cook it? He says, "This is the way we do the omelette. If you want to cook your omelette more, you do it yourself. We are not going to kill it. That's entirely your problem." So that's how it is. So frankly, my entire life and my work was because of the way I look at how to cook an omelette. So when I was recruiting chefs for my restaurants, then they used to come with all sorts of fancy titles and things, and I used to just say, "Cook me a souffle omelette." That was it. And if he got it right, he was a great chef. If he got it wrong, we gave him a cup of coffee and said, "See you later, alligator." Right, Terence?
That's what happens when you keep us waiting near the buffet, for so long. We've just gotten super hungry till the session started. But the reason both of us are on stage over here, because Prahlad sir and me, both of us love telling stories. And when we were discussing what to speak about, the entire paradigm shift, obviously we can write a complete bloody book on that. But we'll speak a little considering that ticker right in front of us. Just a few things that I'd like Prahlad sir to share with you. One thing is, there's a beautiful quote by Dorothy Lange that says, "The best thing the camera taught us is to see the world without a camera." And in today's world, you see so many people, almost everyone has a camera in their hands. And if you want to address the paradigm shift, you start with video marketing, okay? So you just look at the content creators. We're in the world of content creators with reels coming out. And when they did a study, they realized that an average online user spends probably 12 to 13 hours a day consuming content, with 5 to 6 hours of that being video content. Now, Prahlad sir, you've been the face of Indian advertising, and always associated with the camera, telling stories, and you've always had the privilege of owning a brand, shaping a brand, molding that story and presenting it through all the beautiful brands that we've been seeing since we grew up. But now, as you keep telling me, right, a brand is no longer belongs to the company. A brand belongs to the millions of content creators with cameras in their hand. How do you see that affecting the entire digital landscape?
Technology can change, but communication and engagement is about telling stories. If you don't have a story to tell, you don't have a communication. I'm sorry. You can have all the statistics in the world, and the only ones that matter to men are 36, 24, 36, frankly. But they'd much rather see the real McCoy. So if you don't have a story to tell which can engage, then you're dead. So I've been saying this for the last 5 years, that if advertising does not start recruiting young gamers who can actually write games with the product embedded in the games with rewards for every scale that you reach, you don't have engagement anymore. There's an entire generation out there who only does gaming. They're not interested in consuming what you have to say about your brand. You only have to challenge them to play your game better than anybody else's. And the rewards that you get have to be real rewards. They can't be in the metaverse. They have to be a ticket to wherever they want to go, Bangkok. They have to get a holiday in Goa or a holiday in the Lakshadweep or something to do with what they really want to be rewarded with, or cash, for that matter. Today's kids don't believe in all this shit. They say, pay me cash, I'm fine with that. So, if you do not gamify your product today, then there's no point talking about the metaverse, talking about this, because where did the metaverse come from? It came from gaming. So if you guys are going to get into the metaverse, you better get into gaming first. And challenge the new generation to say, can you play my game and win? It's a tough game. And then there are rewards. And my brand is the hero. And he's the good guy. The competition is the bad guy.
But how can marketers really influence that? See, a lot of people nowadays rely on their creators a lot. In fact, statistic reveals that 4 out of 10 people trust opinions of creators and influencers more than their own friends. And 7 out of 10 people believe that creators are the ones who are shaping culture and opinions. You had the chance to actually mentor the brand ambassadors. You could get into their head. You could tell them how they believed in the product and how they would voice it. And they were professional actors. They were celebrities. Now you're dealing with millions who you can't personally influence. Now the marketers will face a challenge of putting out their best efforts, but how are they able to influence?
It's always personal. It's never somebody else's thing. Your personality always comes through what you are creating in terms of either game or a creative storytelling exercise. Now, why is that so? Why is it so personality driven? It's the first thing about creative thinking is, can you laugh at yourself? Or do you take yourself so seriously that you have to constantly wear a tie, tight underwear and a suit and go to office? Or why can't you wear a mund? Or why can't you wear your underwear outside your trousers and go as Superman? Because all of us in the decision-making capacity, number one, are above the age of 35, so it makes you redundant, because you can't think like your kids. Okay? The first exercise of understanding how the new millennial is thinking and working is look at your own children. Is there dialogue? Or is there silence? Do you disapprove horribly with them? All the time, what they do, when they get up, how they consume anything. If that is a constant battle, then I'm afraid you have lost. At home itself. Because that is your consumer. So if you can't talk to your children and understand how they're different from you, and to accept that difference, and not take yourself so seriously and say, I'm the home provider, my way is the highway. I mean, it doesn't work anymore. Even in organizations, it doesn't work anymore. Because all the creative content in an organization does not come from, gray-haired people like me. It comes from younger people like Terence, or even younger than that, 22, 23-year-olds who are actually interacting with their own level of people. 75% of this country is below the age of 30. So who are we talking to? And if you are talking to yourself, do you take yourself so seriously that you constantly think that you are, whatever you are? Or can you loosen up a bit and laugh at yourself? If you can't, then you can't. Then I'm sorry, you're redundant. You may as well, buy a farm, go into organic farming, do something like that.
Okay. The last thing and the most important thing, and something I think only you can answer because you've been doing it so well for over 4 decades. There is a complete crowd of content out there, I mean, there are close to 5 billion daily YouTube views and everyone putting up so many videos. I think close to 700 videos being shared per minute on Twitter. When we worked on campaigns, we faced this challenge of where does our video go? How does it go? And at what part of the consumer journey does it hit? Of late, we get to hear about full funnel marketing, the way, discovery videos are made, and then from browser to buyer transitions and all that stuff. Now, all those jargons aside, in this entire gamut, you open the online world and there's a whole plethora of videos over there. How do you create, or how do marketers mostly, create an impact, be it a 6-second or 10-second or 30-second? How does the video create an impact?
My job today is to actually see which has legs, which idea has legs, and which idea doesn't. Create an idea is ponderous for me. But when I give it to a youngster who's 22, 23 years old and said, I'm your mentor, I'm not your boss, I'm not your manager. How do you manage kids who know more than you do? I mean, the whole nomenclature of management is out of the window. Unless we go back to mentorship, where the senior managers, so-called, become mentors and form teams around them, where they become equal members of that team, because each one has different jobs to do. My job today is to allow a youngster full rein to create what he wants. I ask him for one creative idea, he'll give me 20, like vomit. 19 are vomit. One is a great idea with legs. Who is to decide that? Because he thinks every single idea is great. But you know, with your experience and your hindsight, that this idea is going to run. So what happens to the best ideas in an organization which is management structured? Where do you find the best ideas in an organization, whether it's an agency, whether it's a marketing setup, whether it's whatever it is? Tell me, does anybody know where to find the best ideas in an organization? In the dustbin. Because everybody is busy trying to shoot it down. Because then nobody is serious enough to protect the idea. Because some junior comes up with an idea and everybody says, what shit. When Anuja Chauhan came up with the idea that why should we be the official, keepers of the World Cup? Let's be the unofficial ones. Everybody told them to shut up. What are you talking about? We've lost the World Cup to Coke. Doomsday is there. Hamara kya hoga, Kalia? And everybody is sitting there in mourning. So she says, but there are only 60,000 people inside the stadium. There are 60 lakh or million people outside the stadium. So why can't we be outside the stadium? Why do we have to be official? Why can't we be unofficial? Pepsi has always been unofficial. They've always broken rules. So that suits us perfectly. And Viva Rishi caught on to that. And she said, hang on, let us speak. So you had the greatest campaign in the Pepsi-Cola wars, where Pepsi lost the World Cup and came up with a winner and said, there's nothing official about Pepsi. Period. Coke didn't even get a look at that time. So the whole deal is that what are senior people supposed to do when they can't think nimbly enough and they can't understand the technology quickly enough? Because they have to learn the technology. The kids today are born with it. So they have a huge advantage. So don't knock them. They're very, very capable of doing what you are supposed to do, which is create and understand content. You are supposed to turn around and judge which content needs protection all the way through your management levels until finance actually gives it money to run with it. And if you don't change the structure of companies by making it mentorship and not management, then you're screwed. Because how does a manager manage a kid who knows 20 times more than he does about technology? Today, the difference is the technology. That's the differentiator.
So while we've been talking about the whole paradigm shift, and we are out of time, but just to summarize everything we've spoken, just a few things. One is, as we said, lose the illusion of control. The entire ingredients you put out there, but your content and your brand is in the hands of an entire big population with cameras in their hands. Address the duration challenge, 6-10 seconds. How do you say a story over there and make an impact? By good story. A story at the heart of tech. And see how that pans out. We face our own challenges, but we find ways, because for us, creativity is paramount, storytelling is paramount, and most importantly is to just have fun with what we do, which is why we are in the brand space.
Everybody else is trying to buy into your having fun. They think, these guys are having fun, why can't we join them? But you have fun, you have to have fun at your own expense, not somebody else's. So first you have to be able to laugh at yourself. And with that, I'll say, chuck the suits, stop wearing tight underwear. It directly affects the creativity of the mind. In case you didn't know, ask a neurosurgeon. He'll tell you the same thing. Loosen up, guys. You all are too uptight. I can see you all in this room. Taking yourself very seriously. I'm senior manager, so I will make the decision. Bullshit. Your son knows more about the technology than you do.
So, yeah, what Prahlad is trying to say is just cheer up and smile. Don't be so sullen about anything. I'll just leave you all with the last small joke. Okay, it's why can't a traditional marketeer ever date a digital marketeer? Can someone tell me? It never works out because of the lack of engagement. So, cool. Thank you, EDH, for calling us over here, and thank you, guys.